Sweet. So, yeah, thank you guys for popping in. And Dickey, welcome back. We're doing the PT SporeCast again. Kind of wanted to go into, first of all, dude, thanks for coming on and doing this. I'm super excited to chat with you today.
Oh, excellent, man. I'm glad to be here. It's always a privilege when folks want to hear what myself has to say.
Hell yeah. You got a lot of knowledge, man, and we appreciate you sharing your time, and I'm sure everybody in here and whoever's going to listen to this is going to get some stuff out of it. So it's much appreciated. Kind of how I wanted to maybe break it down today. Like to kind of get into, who's Dickey, like how'd you start, that kind of the path that you've taken and where you've gotten. And then kind of go through your maybe a little bit of your journey with cubes to pans, and then look into pans and kind of dive into that a bit deeper, because you're the pan man in my eyes and a lot of other people's. So let's start with that. How did you get into mycology? What started it all for you?
I mean, really, my craziness about mushrooms started when I was just a wee kid. I grew up in the Midwest, and morel hunting was always a thing that my father did. And I'd go out as a young man in that cold, rainy, dreary weather and go morel hunting. So, I mean, it just really started there. And as I got older, would go out, jump the fence on the cow pastures, and grab some cubes and stuff when I moved down south and things like that. And, you know,
So how did that evolve into, so like you're a kid running around, how old? I mean, you're out there with your dad going morel
I mean,
hunting.
I was probably 7 or 8 years old back then. I mean, we
Okay.
grew up. I grew up on a farm, so we had orchards and things like that, and we were definitely blessed to have a bunch of birch trees and stuff on the property. That
That's awesome.
when it was cool and rainy and dreary, the morels were coming.
So then
So
then you're already ingrained in the mushroom thing, but at what point did you shift to like you finding out what cubes are and hopping fences and picking those?
I mean, it was probably when I was 15, 16 years old. Young and dumb, out running around with your buddies and doing things that you probably shouldn't be doing at that age. And we had some older friends that were like, "Hey, we're gonna go jump the cow fence tonight and go get some mushrooms." So I mean, probably wasn't the best way to obtain them, and as
Yeah.
well, probably wasn't the safest, and you know,
What is your
way to
story,
keep
man?
it.
Yeah, it's like
Oh yeah, I
that's
mean,
how it is. A lot of people have done it.
oh yeah.
Um, so from there, I mean, you're picking them young. When did you start? Like, how long have you been actually cultivating mushrooms?
Cultivating mushrooms. Let's see. I was probably in my early 20s the first time I got a gourmet block from a local guy down here where I'm at. He ran a small little gourmet farm for the farmers market, would sell, lions, mane, oysters, things like that. And it was back really, in my eyes, before, gourmets and medicinals became a thing. And
Yeah.
I thought it was absolutely awesome that you could set a small block or container or 5-gallon bucket somewhere in your house and have some form of success, depending upon with being able to grow, your own mushrooms for food.
Right.
And so that really, it started out with building a friendship with that man. That was when the dive started deep. I asked him, hey, can I come out to your farm, work for free, kind of deal, help you out, learn. And he
That's
really took
super
me
cool.
under it. He took me under his wing and taught me gourmets and what I use today, um, with the gourmet business.
That's really, really cool. So you had like a firsthand, almost, I mean, an apprenticeship on
It was,
cultivating the gourmets.
yeah, I mean, that's just where where it took off and it started. I was, you know, super fortunate that I had somebody that was willing to, teach me the ins and outs and really how, these guys were doing it back then when it was, FFUs were, not a thing that was easily obtainable by the average person. So
Right.
it was still air boxes and things like that. That's kind of what I want to say I started with. It
Yeah,
just
that-
it really it just took off from there.
I love it. Say, it kind of makes sense to me now hearing that and knowing how you are with how willing you are to help people out in this space and cultivation and whatnot. I imagine that kind of set a tone for you. Is that fair to say that set a tone for you that, somebody willing to help you out and kind of, I know you've had taken under your wing in that sense and helped with the growing.
Very much so. It kind of shaped the motto I have today with not gatekeeping information with anybody. If somebody's willing to learn and they're wanting to stick with it, I mean, we should all be willing to spread that knowledge.
Yeah, I feel that. And I'm super grateful for that. I haven't been in this very long and because of people like yourself and luckily I feel like I've gotten into this at a time where there's not as much of that gatekeepy vibe. A lot of people are willing to share, and I think it's you know due to people like you who's willing to share the information and help people out. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
So going from that, and so you're doing all your gourmet stuff and apprenticing under this guy. At what point did you start cultivating cubensis? Like, how, or is that where you started with cubensis?
Yeah, I mean, I went from gourmets, and I've never let off the gas pedal with gourmets ever since I started. Cubensis probably I didn't start messing with those until I was in my early 30s. Uh, I had approached my gourmet sensei, and he was like, "Nope. Uh, if you want that, you got to figure that out on your own. I don't do that." So I was like, "Hey, cool, whatever." And that sent me into the deep troves of Reddit and the internet and Google, and really just starting to read, you know, where I'm located. The stigma around psychedelics is still really deep. Um, they're just not widely accepted. I mean, it was just here in the last 2 years that the acceptance of medical marijuana became a thing. So um, maybe one day psychedelics will be easier for folks to talk about, but not right now.
Right.
Uh, so I mean, yeah, early 30s. Been at it probably close to 12, 13 years now
Nice.
altogether. Not steady, but in the closet for several years, and then the last 2.5, 3 years, I've been more on the public side of it. Uh, really trying to help, in any way, shape, or form that I can to bring awareness to what we're able to do with not only our hobby craft, but the medicine that potentially with it for some folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, that's kind of the thing that I think we all get to put on our shoulders is that stigma. Um, most of us are just regular ass people, doing our jobs, like being contributing to society and doing all that. And um, granted, I'm not trying to say mushrooms aren't also used for fun by most of us, but they are also very helpful in a lot of ways. Uh, and yeah, sharing that information and kind of killing that stigma takes everybody, man. Talking about it with people and yeah. So you're growing, you're cultivating cubes now and doing that. What at what point, this was a question asked in the chat a little while ago. At what point did you know that you were hooked in mycology and cultivation?
Uh, Probably from the first bite of gourmets I took. Or,
Oh, really?
yeah, I mean, it was, to me, it was instant gratification that with, the help of the mycelium, my hand, and a little bit of luck back then, it became something that I was able to put on my table and eat. And really have just been enthralled with how they grow. I mean, that's, they're, outside of eating and the, for fun fact with cubensis and paniolus, uh, just watching them grow is probably where I get most of my gratification these days.
It's super rewarding, that's for sure. I know that hooks a lot of people. Um, there's something about it. It's like there's a constant dopamine hit with the whole cultivation process. Where, I mean, even starting from spore, put spores to agar, and is it gonna grow? Is it gonna do well? Are we gonna get germination? How much? And then just the whole way through, it's always like some form of anticipation. And that definitely hooks a lot of people. I feel like got me, that's for sure.
Most definitely.
Uh, so how long were you growing cubes before you got into growing panes?
Probably three, 3.5, 2.5, 3 years.
So you've
Um,
been growing panes 10 years.
Not quite 10 years. I mean, I had a lot of failures early on and went back and forth between trying. Um, when you're trying to read on the internet, you're not really interacting with anybody. Uh, it's just not something that, widely available, or at least it wasn't to me at the time.
Right. So a lot of trial and error and figuring it out for you.
Yes, sir.
Um, what were some of those, I guess, what were some of the techniques and things that you were doing, um, when you got into it and started doing this? Because you're talking about SABs, still air boxes, and um, I have heard you talk about like ovens and whatnot. What where did your kind of tech come from? Where did you start with this?
Uh,
Let's start from cubes, I guess.
you know,
Once you started that.
back when I started my journey with cubes, it was PF Tech was the big thing, and was doing most of that with the oven and a pot of water essentially. Was very limited success early on for me.
That's
but
crazy.
a
Yeah, a lot of crossed fingers.
lot of cross fingers, a lot of hopes and prayers.
Yeah, fair. I mean, a lot of lessons learned, I'm sure. Um, so how has that progressed for you? So you start out, with that stuff, and then you've gone to where you're at now. What are your kind of go-tos now? I mean, I'm sure you do all your own stuff grain wise. What kind of stuff do you run for grain? Are you kind of all over the place, or are you dead set on
Uh,
you like certain things?
I'm well for pans. I'm gonna probably make a lot of people cry. With pans, it's brown rice, gang. Uh, to me, I've not found much of a better one yet, personally. Not to say that there's not other ones that'll work. I've done them with oats. I've got some canary seed right now that I'm trying a small batch, but brown rice is my mainstay.
Nice. Would
Uh, it's,
you what's your tech for that? Like how are you doing brown rice for your pans?
uh, I can thank Sarek for this. He kind of coached me through with brown rice when I initially started hanging out with him. I was still using oats and Milo and things like that for pans, but uh, take bring your pot of water to a boil, dump your rice in for 11, 12 minutes, depending upon your elevation, that kind of stuff. Bring it to a slow boil, and then when all said and done, dump it out on your screen in your colander, rinse it with some hot water, let it drip off, and where you're not getting a bunch of running water coming out of it, throw it in the jar.
So it's
And
still a little bit wet. Like it's
still,
not you don't
still a little.
you don't let it completely dry.
Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Most of the time I don't, and get by just fine. That's when I tend to adhere more towards the 10, 11 minute mark. That way there's still a little bit of rice can still pick up a little bit of extra water. It's not quote unquote fully cooked.
Right. And when you do that, are you doing jars and like how much are you doing? One thing that I'm seeing, so pans, I've literally just spawned my first pans. Fingers are crossed there. But um, something I've been noticing and seeing the difference between cubes and pans is a lot of people are doing less spawn. Ratios are different. I mean, everything's kind of a little bit different. Um,
Yeah,
how much are you doing for your, like, are you using jars? Are you doing whole bags or
I use jars. I use enough plastic in the gourmet sector. I try to reduce as much as I possibly can in the active scene.
fair?
So I run anything from half pints to quarts. Mainly a lot of pint jars. I think I'm currently using 80 pint jars at a time.
Oof. So with your pint jar, are you going when you fill them, are you going up, three-quarters of the way up, kind of halfway full? How much do you fill up?
About
And then
somewhere between half and three quarter.
okay. And then how much is that like how does that translate over to your tubs or bags or whatever you're using to grow?
So I like to use the classic 6 quart shoebox. That's
Okay.
what I typically grow in. I just switched over to the 6.25. So I've found that I've needed to fill those pints a little bit fuller to get those nice jam tubs. But usually it's what is it? A pint to what translates to 2.5, 3 quarts of soap.
Okay. And is that for each tote, or that's how
Yeah,
many totes is your one? Okay,
that's for each tote.
got it.
Uh, what's more important is in my opinion, is having your sub depths between an inch and an inch and a half total. So that's like
Gotcha.
when you have your sub in, when you have your grain in, inch and a half, you'll be golden. I find that
Eh,
it's the perfect speed between not over colonizing and giving you overlay stoma to where it's fast enough to beat off most of your contamination.
And did you mention the ratio? I might have missed it.
It's
What's your
somewhere,
ratio for the spawn to cell?
it varies between genetic, really.
Okay.
Initially starting off, I'll run 1.3, 1.4.
Okay. And they run quick, huh? So you've let's go through a grow really. Um, so you've got your grain, you did your grain, you got brown rice. You like the spawn to bulk in the 6 quart shoebox, and the process on that. Like, how long is it taking to colonize substrate?
Colonizing substrate typically tends, for me, in my environment, is somewhere between 5 and 7 days for full colonization usually. I do have a couple of genetics that will get the job done a little bit quicker. They tend to be a little frisky.
Gotcha.
Maybe
Yeah, that's
maybe
quick.
push. Yeah, it's much faster than cubes.
Now, so this is kind of coming up. I'm seeing them talk about it in the chat here. I think it's good to address. So your shoe boxes that you're spawning to, you running
Yes, sir.
those in a tent? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
This is gonna be where we're gonna hang out for a few minutes. Is at this part.
Okay.
Um, I
Yeah,
I
let's dive in.
currently run two 4x4x80 temps for pans. Plus, I have a 2x4 as well. Um, that's where I typically run all of my stuff. Um, but I've been messing around with different avenues to gain success with growing pans. Um, I've got a Martha, which is I think I've got the whole Martha built for right at about $100, maybe a little bit less. And not quite the same morphology that's in my big tent, but I would accept it as good, good to perfect. Oh,
And
I've done. Oh, go ahead.
how is that set up? So you've got a $100 Martha tent. Is that with your humidifier and fans and all your stuff?
It, yeah, I caught some of it on sale from Amazon. It's just a little 4 tier. I think the tent was like $14, $15. It's pretty cheap, but it gets done. It's not the long haul. It probably make it a year or two before you need to replace at least the shelving and the canvas for it, the cover. But I have that set up and ran on an intermittent timer and an inkbird with a little. I think it's made by Lavolt, a little Lavolt uh, humidifier with the dial on it. I think people would probably recognize it from Pheno's Dreamer Tech.
Okay. How do you feel about or have you tried those like Dreamer Tube setups?
Actually, no, I have not tried the Dreamer Tub setups personally. I've done a lot of reading about them, and I definitely do think that if you manage to get them dialed in, and that was the route you went, it would be successful in growing a magnitude of different species, zaps, pans, the whole
Bunch of
nine
different
yards.
stuff.
Yes, sir.
So the tent setup. So we've got it spawned in a tub now. It's in a tent. Are you putting them in a tent with like lid on? and to colonize before casing, or are they on just on a shelf before they hit a tent? Like how does
They're
that work?
they're on a shelf. I've got 3 shelves that I have stacked up with, trays. They'll sit there for the duration of their colonization. I'll pull them over to the lab. We'll case everything, and depending upon how they look, sometimes they go directly into the tent and into fruiting. Other times I've practiced a little bit of patience, and we'll put the lid back on them and let them sit 24, 36 hours with the lid on it post casing, and then into fruiting they go.
So what's the thought process behind that? Letting them sit after casing it?
I think that what my thought theory and what I've read via by the Shermer is that it kind of helps to build the microclimate. It kind of builds up the moisture beads and stuff on the top of the mycelium layer, and then when you introduce it into fruiting, you start that moisture evaporation cycle, and it seems to induce a heavier pinset.
Gotcha. Okay, so you've got them. We're colonizing outside of the tent on the shelf. Temperature wise, for colonization time, where are you trying to be? What's the window?
Uh, for me, I keep my window rate at 72, 74 degrees. That's where they are at colonization. When it is a little bit warmer back here, they typically will colonize a little bit quicker. I don't worry too crazy much about temperature these days, other than I try to avoid anything above 78, 80 degrees now. I find
And that's
that
through the whole process.
through the whole process,
Okay,
uh, find that when they're hotter, I start running into issues with trichoderma.
right. That's kind of the Goldie zone for all kinds of stuff that above 78, 80, as far as I've read anyways. That's where things start really being able to take control of things. Cool. So we're running 72, 74, somewhere around there, below 78. To colonize, maybe let it sit for 24 hours or so after casing. So what about casing? What are we doing for casing? What are you using? And walk me through casing.
Like saying when we first started out, I went and bought some peat moss today. Went and picked up peat moss, and then I had for vermiculite already. I'd run a 50-50 mix of peat ground, pasteurized. I've used Jiffy Mix in a pinch. Sometimes, you got to run to Walmart, pick a couple bags up just to get it done. Uh, it to me, Jiffy will work. It just tends to colonize sometimes on the surface, which then reduces your pin set. So, I've not had as much issues with the 50-50 mixed peat ground.
When you do the peat verm, you put the lime, you use lime as well to,
Yep, yep. Add a what is it? 1 to 2 tablespoons for me at least. I do advise folks that if you're gonna lime anything and adjust your pH, to have a way to test it. Um, it you know you can err on the side of caution and do a little bit less. I don't run any filtered air going into my temps, and people say it starts at the grain level. Probably the truth. I've had my fair share of trike over the years, so I really try to make sure everything's good from grain to casing, but it's usually 1 to 2 tablespoons per gallon of casing mix.
okay. And what about
You know, that,
your casing thickness? How thick are we laying the casing on? And how wet too? It's something
uh,
I've been curious about because I've seen people talk about, you know, doing their casing at like regular uh, field capacity, and then like soaking it. Some people saying not to do that. Where are we at on the thickness and how wet to have it?
On how wet to have it, I try to have it just below what would be considered field capacity. I don't like it when it's muddy, personally. I find it harder to spread out that way and get a nice thin, even coverage. And by thin, uh, eighth to a quarter of an inch. But what you want to be able to do is look down on the tub you're casing and be able to see little bits of mycelium through there. Um, the true purpose of that casing layer is to create a microclimate. Um, let's take a step out to a wild paniolis. Everyone I found, on the occasion I'll see one coming up off of a pile of cow shit. Most of the time they're coming out from right at the edge where it meets the grass dirt level, and it's in a crack. So
That's a good
it's
show.
that's a kind of what I was taught, what I learned is just a nice thin layer. I've overdone it, and all I end up then with is edge pins. Nothing pins down through the middle.
I wonder if that, because you're talking, the casing is for your surface conditions, right?
Correct?
And having the evaporation trigger, that makes sense. Being able to look down on it, see some mycelium, you're going to have more evaporation at the mycelium level if it's able to evaporate through the casing rather than kind of packing it down, right?
Yeah, I mean, correct. The casing layer kind of provides that humidity at the surface level too, to keep your mycelium from drying out. While when your tent, for example, cycles the air, it's going to move air around. Then when it shuts off, it becomes still. And
Mhm.
between those little craters and pockets, going to create a more humid environment than what the air is technically.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So, I mean, talking about that, let's get into tent settings. Um, we've got, I mean, we kind of went over the temperatures already, but
Mm-hmm.
what are, how do you set up a tent? Where do you start? What do we do?
Uh, Really, the bigger question I like to ask folks is, what is your goal? Are you seeking just getting the fruit for a good time, or are you going to continue to grow and grow and grow and grow, and it turns into a hobby, a passion, things like that? Um, it boils down to, with the tents. I like the bigger tents personally. I find that they're easier to control as far as for environment, but running the bigger tents also come with a bigger cost for equipment.
Right.
So,
So someone starting out, I'll use myself as an example. So I've got just kind of a basic Martha tent. It's probably
mhm,
48 inches. No, it's taller than that. Maybe 5 foot tall
yeah,
and like 2.5 foot wide, 2.5 foot deep, something like that. Um, I got it on Amazon. It's like basically the same thing as what North Spore sells as their boomer tent, whatever. But I wasn't willing to pay them the absurd amount of money for the thing that they just put a logo on. Um, but that's what I've got, and I feel like a lot of people that are just dipping their toes are gonna maybe start small. Um,
um, most
so how are you
definitely.
setting that up?
Um, there's a sundry of different ways. I'm personally going to opt for humidifier little fan. Where I took a lot of my information from is, I believe Happy is in the chat, or he was. Happy's got a really cool setup with the Martha temps, and that's using Inkbird or some form of a humidity controller. I happened to catch Inkbirds when they were on sale, and happen to have one sitting here. But I have a Inkbird controller, and then the fans run on an intermittent timer, which is separate with the humidifier, and that's really the gist of it. I think I have it cycling currently, if I can see it from where I'm sitting. It's 3 minutes on, 25 minutes off.
That's for your humidifier or
That's for the fan.
for your fan. So how are
Yeah.
you running your fan? Is it just so is that your circulation fan inside the tent?
Yeah,
Or is
that's
that like
like
a
it's like an exhaust fan.
exhaust? That's your exhaust fan. So you you're running like a negative pressure then you're sucking all that air out.
Correct. I've got a little vent hole that I put up in the top. That I used a union, kind of like a butt union from the plumbing aisle at Home Depot or Lowe's, and I have a little bit of polyfill in there to keep dust and stuff from having a direct path in.
Yeah, good. So with this exhaust setup, and do you have a fan just kind of moving air around in there as well? Is that on all the time or off and
No,
on?
I don't run a circulation fan in that tent currently. Um,
Okay,
it's something that I won't want to say I'm playing with. I've had some good grows on it already.
nice.
Just as it sits right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. That's something that I was under the impression you kind of needed. I actually just ordered one because I'm about to case these tubs.
I mean,
And
when you take and start exhausting the air in and out of the tent, mainly on the outside, sucking that air in, it's gonna put a breeze, move some air around in the tent, and it's gonna vacate the CO2 and uh, help cause evaporation with the drier air coming in. Uh,
now, mentioning the CO2, is that something that you track? Are you like, do you have a CO2 sensor in there?
not in my pan temps, no. I don't
Or-
track CO2 on any of my actives at all.
Okay. Not a huge concern, just the way you have your exhaust set up and everything and your timer on it. Um,
Correct.
how are you balancing your timing on your exhaust and humidity? Like how long does that kind of take to figure out how to have that set up so that I mean, I imagine you got to keep your humidity up, but you do your exhaust fan kicks on, your humidity drops, humidity comes back up. Is it something that to be concerned about with keeping it pretty steady, or those shifts are they maybe good for it or bad for it or what?
The shifts, in my opinion, I won't say it's bond, play a big part in cap production as far as size of caps go. It also will directly affect how tall your fruits get as well. Um, Temperature plays a part in that too. It's kind of a little bit of science, and every single environment's different. Um, where I'm at, it's humid as all get out 9 months out of the year. So I personally have to run my fans a little bit longer than say somebody that's out in the desert. If you've got lower humidity with inside your home, you may not need to run it as long because you're going to start drying things out too much.
Gotcha.
There's a generalized area that I recommend to start with folks, depending upon what their setup is. And then it's really just watching, getting that first tray to go container, 6 quart, whatever it may be, getting it spawned, getting it through the casing, and getting it in the tent and working on achieving pins. And you can gauge your environment off of how they're moving and growing.
Right.
And that, and as they're growing, you get caps that are really small and the fruits are super tall. Might need a little more air. Humidity might have been a little too high.
Gotcha.
It's a numerous different things.
Yeah. A lot of variables, a lot of nuance.
Correct.
That's one thing. I mean, even with cubes, learning to read what you're dealing with is the biggest thing. Like, there's not a blanket answer for all this stuff, but there is good starting points, and I think you lay out a lot of those.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really what it is just getting to that starting point and really watching what the mush tell you. And they'll teach you what it is you need to do. You'll be able to walk by your tent as you get going further on into it and look and say, "Oh, those aren't looking too hot. Let's check the variables." I personally am an AC Infinity fanatic. I like the controllers. I like having the ability to monitor all of my systems while I'm away from home, be it at work, out camping, whatever the case may be.
That's
So
pretty dope. With your somebody asked here in the chat, with the humidity for your humidifier, do you have that humidifier set up inside the tent or outside of your tent?
it is set up outside of the tent, and I have it piped in.
Is it like piped in up top or down low? You feed it from the top, or
Say that one more time. My headset was cutting out. I apologize.
oh, no worries. Do you have that piped in up top? Like you have your
Y-
humidity going up to the top of the tent, I imagine.
yes, sir. I have it. I have it piped in. I have the flex hose that attaches to mine 3/4 PVC, and I have it set up in one tent like a horseshoe shape above the 3 shelves, and then in the other tent I run everything slightly larger. I have a homemade humidifier on that one, and it's
And what,
piped in with a 4-inch pipe.
okay.
That's my newest one.
And you're keeping humidity level where?
I aim for at the low when it's exhausting, 80 to 82%. That's kind of my happy spot. I run a vast diversity of paniolis at one time. Um, some genetics don't care. Some are real finicky. Uh, what I do like is that 81, 80, 81 to 90, 91, 92 sometimes. Depends on how dry the air is being exhausted back into the tent. I'll adjust them on the fly from time to time. The nice thing about AC, they give you a graph and you can kind of look at your graph on there as you get going and see that, all right, everything was looking real good right around here. Let's try to keep it steady in that level.
That's um, that's watching that stuff again, being able to see what's going on.
Correct.
Helps out a ton. That's really going to come with just doing it, right?
A lot of it's going to come with just doing it. It does make it hard, and I think that's kind of where some people get turned off with getting into exotics as a whole is that it is the unknown factor. It's kind of like, oh, I've spent a pretty good amount of money. I'm getting into it, and I'm not seeing success yet. It once you get that first grow, you're hooked. I mean, there's no other way to really describe it. It's when that first batch of pans comes up, and it goes from being just little nubs to poof. Next thing you know, you got a whole heap of pins coming up, tall fruits, looking good, and then the next day you're harvesting them all. It's super quick.
Yeah. So how quick does that really happen? So you case, we've got our tent set up for fruiting. They go in the tent. What's that part of the process look like?
That part of the process, again, genetic dependent. Something that's a little more domesticated tends to move a little quicker. Uh, from casing the pins, on average of I'll just put a pretty good sized window is 5 to 10 days with proper settings and things like that. Sometimes
So
it can take a little bit longer. Sometimes it can take a little bit less.
so from casing to harvesting, anywhere between 5 to 10 days.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy quick, huh? It's not like uh yeah, not like with cubes. It's slow, it can be. You're not
Most
going from
definitely.
pins to you're not going from pins to harvest in 5 days. That's for sure, for most anyways. At least none that I've grown. I don't know all of them like that, but yeah, that's super exciting and I mean yeah, rewarding, more immediate satisfaction, which is super cool.
Instant. It comes back to that instant gratification.
Right.
It truly is every grow that either I'm partially successful with, or it's a rock star tub pack. It's a huge dopamine hit, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm giddy like a little schoolgirl, and I'll walk past the tent 100 times a day when they're coming up, and I'll just be sitting there staring at them.
I
And
imagine you could almost watch them grow at that rate. They're flying.
it, it if they come up in pen on a Friday evening, by Sunday evening at warmer temperatures, like in that 70, 78 degree mark. By Sunday evening, you'll have full-fledged fruit that are probably starting to drop spores by that point.
That's that's wild. One thing that I missed, and I think we get to go back to kind of back to the beginning of things in this process. Uh, Agar
Hmm.
and pan mycelium, so much different. Um, let's go over agar recipes. How is pan mycelium different? What's it looking like? And really, honestly, as well, what are the ways to run it, to go through the process? Are we always starting from spore? Should we start from spore every time and run through filial generations or run clones? But yeah, let's start with the agar itself recipes.
Extremely well. The agar recipes themselves are not the hot topic, really. The hot topic is whether you should start from spore every time or take clones and what have you not. Um, I do a combination of each on that side of it. I do a little bit of cloning sometimes, trying to shorten some of those wild variables and chase after phenos and size and things like that, and it tends to help a little bit. Um, then there's others. I'll just snag spores while I'm harvesting, swab a plate, and just rock with it. It's really it's a big toss up mix as to which practice I do. It's kind of what I feel like doing that day personally. As far as agar recipes go, um, either LME or potato dextrose broth are probably my two go-tos with pans. Um, with the microscopy side, with pans, I like using the PDA. I can get that mycelium thinned out with a lower nutrition and have the clarity that I'm looking for to make slides or do top-down looks through the petries and things like that. LME works just as well. Um, I would just say I'm probably a snob for clarity.
Makes sense if you're scoping stuff too.
Yep. So
So you notice that LME tends to be more cloudy, or
tends to be a smidge cloudier, has more color to it. It's still clear, don't get me wrong, but it'll have kind of that little bit of yellowing to it. Even at a that could be partially in fact PC time. Might be caramelizing it a little bit. Um, but does have a little bit of color to it. I just like the clarity. I also think that the pans grow a little bit better on the PDA. I think they kind of enjoy that nutrition a little bit better.
one thing that I've run into in starting this is thinking that my recipe for cubes is going to work for pans starting from Spore. And it's not that it didn't work, but it seems like there's a pretty general consensus that there's better options. Can you explain like what the actual recipe is? How much nutrition are we giving stuff to start out and run your plates on?
Uh, let's see. That boils so on a low nutrition side, it boils down to zero point 0.5 grams of PDA for 100 mils. So at 500, it's 2.5 PDA. I like to run my agar on the softer side for things at home that aren't being shipped. I think I find I get better germination, and of course better growth, less resistance. Uh, I don't know. Some people probably seen it where Paniolus kind of seems to dive into the agar a little bit sometimes um, when it's on the softer side, and it it doesn't bother me as much when I get the quicker growth that I'm looking for. Um, with a higher nutrition, it'll slow it down a little bit, and I may bump that up to double that recipe. I'll do 1 gram per 100 mil.
Gotcha. So I mean, it's lower. It's going to be, generally speaking, it's all lower than what your normal recipes are for cubes, what people may be used to.
Yeah. Um, you'll find if you try sometimes to put cubes on a standard cube recipe, put pans on a standard cube recipe, they get a little angry. And they'll start, racing out, reaching, growing for the lid and things like that.
Um, that's I that's a good next thing to kind of go into. How is the mycelium different? Just one thing is like it almost looks like it's bad, or pan mycelium just looks weird every time I've seen it on a plate.
Really tomentose. Sometimes with germination plates and stuff, you'll think it's contamination. I'll have to sit there. There's times where I'm like, is this, am I looking at some sort of mold, trichoderma, something? something jumping up and coming in, or what have you not. Uh, Definitely agreeable that it's a different looking mycelium.
So for somebody getting into it, maybe making the switch or just adding to their things that they're doing. Um, what is normal? Like what is pretty normal? I know it's kind of a blanket statement, but normal looking growth. Uh,
Nice, even uh, contour growth. Kind of looks like a cloud. Not a big poofy cloud, but it looks like a slow rolling cloud going across the plate. It would
is it
kind of resemble more maybe your more tomentose cubes.
gotcha? What about cool. So yeah, we had a question a little bit earlier. I wrote down for you, what has been your favorite, or what are some of your favorite pans to grow and why?
Hmm. Anybody that's in this chat probably can answer this one for me, but it's going to be Byron Bay. I've got to give a big thanks to Sport Exchange and the Aussie Boys for introducing me to Byron Bay. It's probably we're going 2 years in on it now, close somewhere in that ballpark vicinity, and it's still in my daily rotation, and absolutely probably one of my favorite mushrooms.
What about Byron Bay is stands out to you?
Uh, it's probably the growth. They're pretty, super pretty, nice meaty fruit. Uh, but the how do I want to say this? The experience. The experience is where it's at with that. It's by far not the most potent mushroom. Um, it for me has more of a medicinal factor to it. I find that out of most of the pans that I've consumed, the afterglow, if you want to call it that, tends to typically last longer than some. And
The
that's
experience and the grow.
correct.
Hell yeah. Can't wait to try them one day. Hopefully I can run them proper next time. I had some issues with my grain. But I'm gonna give your brown rice tack a try and hopefully get some success with Byron Bay. I've got a question here for liquid culture.
Uh, I won't, I have not the most experience with liquid culture and panniolus. Um, I've tried it before, not had much luck. Could have been my recipe. It's something that I've started to approach again, but just as it stands right now, uh, in my opinion, pans don't do as well in it. The longevity's just not there for most of
Why
what I've seen.
why do you have any theory on why that is?
To be fair, no, I don't have enough experience with it to make a educated judgment with it.
That's fair. Um, well, dude, what's your let's talk White Rabbit a little bit. Um, White Rabbit mycology. It's your baby, yeah. Um,
Uh,
what do you
yep,
guys
I
have going on, and what are some projects you're working? What do you guys have coming up in the future that people can look out for?
uh, pans galore. Let's just put it that way. Got quite a few pan projects in the work right at the moment. Uh, Give a big shout out to my buddies, Big Chef there in chat, Gooch. the whole 9 yards trip. They've kept me driving and pushing to get some of my projects done. And some crossing work again, I kind of slowed up a little bit with some of my crosses and was concentrating more on working genetics around that I currently had. But I think if I'm looking at my stack right, I think I have 7 or 8 crosses that I'm working on, and a whole fleet of stuff that came over from Only Spores and Spore Exchange and What the Fungi Q. Uh, are you there, bud?
No, there you
Sounded
go.
like we. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I hit a little robot there for a second.
Yeah. It, uh, maybe, uh, you can hear internet works good.
So yeah, sounds like you might be coming back now.
There we are. I don't know what that was about. Sorry, everybody. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can.
Perfect. Sorry, I don't know. My internet hasn't skipped a beat or anything. I don't even know what's going on there. Pick it up like it didn't happen. I didn't hear anything you said. So
To
your
be fair, I didn't hear anything you said. But
fair. So you said you have some stuff coming over from you got a slew of stuff coming over from Australia, I think.
yep, got a slew of stuff that Spore Exchange had gotten over to several folks and passed out, and I've got a few others from different locales from different parts of the U.S. and the world, plus one-off crosses that we've been working on.
Hell yeah. Is there any you want to drop any insights on what some of those things might be?
We're gonna keep them. We're gonna keep them under wraps for right at the moment. I'll go like
Fair.
this, and I'll go like this and say that folks, there's a couple of them that folks will probably want to get their hands on when they come out. They're absolutely stunning. They're some gorgeous looking fruits, and
Nice.
I'm excited to get them out.
Well, let's go with that. Where can people find stuff for you?
WhiteRabbitMyco.com, and soon to be an exclusive lineup for the Culture Cave. There will be things that you can't get on WhiteRabbitMyco.com on the Culture Cave. That will
Nice.
probably be where I'd say 90% of my new stuff will go for right now.
Hell yeah. Um, what about socials, things like that? Are you big in any of those?
Instagram was the place to be, but the last week, as we're probably all well aware, that has been probably not the greatest place to be sharing our goods and what we like to do. It seems that you share not even a picture of mush and you're catching that boot, you know.
Yeah, it's cracking down. It's hard to say if it's AI stuff or I've heard things of people doing the, reporting, or if it's AI, who really knows, who cares, but it is getting, uh,
Yeah.
does seem to be getting a lot of accounts nuked as of recent.
Yeah. So if you're wanting to keep up with me, I'm gonna put a little more emphasis on jumping into Discord. I'm gonna start spending some time in the Culture Caves subreddit and hanging out in there, posting pictures and carrying on conversations and things like that. And
You have
just keep.
your own Discord server as well.
Yep, I do have my own Discord. Anybody's welcome to join in and be able to find me, ask me questions. I'm there most evenings, hanging out in voice channels and things like that.
Yeah, I know I've enjoyed hanging out in your voice chats and getting to know the regulars in there, and always a lot of knowledge. And we appreciate you being in PT as well.
Yep,
Um,
like I said, a little more emphasis coming on Discord. I'm sure you'll see me pop in there and hang out with y'all, and just
yeah,
really my big goal on everything is like I love vending, but I also love spreading the knowledge that I do have. And at the end of the day, you can ask 10 people in the room how they do something, and uh, you're going to get 10 different answers. My way may work for you, the next man's my way may not, and the next man's may work. I'll never say somebody's wrong. There's 500 different ways to achieve success in doing what we do.
absolutely. Is there anything, the one question, if you've listened to any of these, one question that I like to ask everybody in the cultivation space, um, what is something that you started out doing, or something that you used to do, that you thought was like this tech or this way is killer, like this is the way to do it, and that has changed, like something, you learned something or something shifted and you're doing maybe the opposite or something totally different now?
Probably for me, it was bucket tech, to be fair with you. It works great for some things, depending upon what it is, but I've had far more failures with substrate being bucket tech than I have oven pasteurizing or pasteurizing in an autoclave or PC.
You know, with you saying that, I realized that we didn't even talk about substrate at all, really. What's the, for pans, what are we running? What's the go-to substrate for you?
If you're talking about ease of use and uh, kind of a one-step process, uh, bioflower. Made by a company called Bio365. You can find it on Amazon, House of Hydro, places like that. Some you can look on their website and hit a store locator, and it'll give you possibly some places that maybe local to you that have it. But if all else fails, you got House of Hydro and Amazon. It's kind of you add it to bucket, bring it up to field capacity, pasteurize it, and it's good to go. No poop in it, nothing. Get great looking fruits, easy to use.
Oh yeah.
For the bulk of what I do though, is I use a lot of donkey poo and core with a little bit of straw and some azomite.
That's a whole tech in itself right there. Yeah, what's the mix, I guess?
Uh, for me, I kind of do it along the lines of a 50-50 mix. Uh, with a couple quarts of straw mixed in. I do use perlite in my mix versus vermiculite, so I'll do 2 quarts of straw, 2 quarts of vermiculite, help keep it nice and fluffy, Aeration's a big thing with pan mycelium. They don't like that dense hard pack. If you're starting out in the pan scene, don't pack your tubs like a cube tub.
Gosh,
That's probably tip number one.
fair. So how are we packing? Just nice and light, level, or don't pack them at all?
I don't pack them at all. Nice. I aim to have a nice level inch and a half surface all the way across the tray, and that that's where it is.
So really just yeah, just level it out.
Yep,
What
level it
about
up.
a pseudo?
Level it up.
What about a pseudo
Uh,
casing?
some people do, some people don't. I personally don't. I want that surface to colonize as quickly as possible.
But you do have them lidded because you store them on shelves. Yeah,
Yep.
fair. What else? Man, what about any tips that you have for? I mean, you just hit one there, but any other tips that you have for people that are thinking about getting into pans, uh, or getting into pans already?
If they're just getting in the pans, don't be scared. Anybody can grow pans. Um, don't be afraid to ask questions. Myself, there's plenty of other fellows in the hobby that are readily available that if you jump into a DM with them, most of them are, I would say, a whole slew of guys in my Discord that would love nothing more than to help folks out with pans. I'm just a DM away usually. I will answer in the most timely fashion that I can to help anybody out.
Awesome. Yeah, I've definitely found that to be true. You're super helpful with stuff, and it's greatly appreciated. I mean, with that, what do you have anything you want to plug? You've got your Discord, you've got your yeah. You got anything you want to plug?
I just got it worked out. It should be fixed. That was kind of why I was acting a little distracted there for a minute, so I do apologize. I took and dropped it's good for whiterabbitmyco.com right now. I'm still working on getting my Culture Cave store resorted back out and getting things up on there. That'll be done probably this week. But if you go to whiterabbitmyco.com and you decide there's something you want to get, at checkout, enter PT25, and it's an exclusive code that I ran out for the entirety of next week.
Oh hell yeah!
So
Sweet.
it'll get you 25% off your total order. I greatly appreciate people taking time out of their day to come and listen to me babble on about pans
Yeah.
as a
Well,
whole.
we all. I mean, I speak for myself, but I can speak for. I mean, well, we got 43 to 45 people pretty consistently in this audience today, and I think I could speak for everybody that we appreciate your time as well. A lot of knowledge, and yeah, it's greatly appreciated, man. Uh,
Uh, I
thanks
will
for
come
hopping on
back
with us.
I will come back anytime you guys want. Maybe we can dive deeper into some things and
Yeah, like
talk about pick a specific topic and talk about it. I'm also looking to, add some articles to the Sci-Time magazine, catering to pans and exotics as a whole.
Oh, nice, nice.
So,
We're gonna have them on pretty soon. I know we've got them in the lineup, side times, so
yep,
that'll
I
be exciting.
think they're a couple weeks off yet, but
Yeah,
that's going to be. I can't wait to hear what they got going on.
oh
I
yeah,
think
for
it's
sure.
awesome what they're trying to achieve, and uh, make sure y'all go check it out. You know,
August
be it
9th.
can contribute to it as well. They're always
Yeah,
looking for people to jump in and help them out.
Yeah, that's a good shot. Sweet. Well, dude, again, thank you so much. Super appreciate you sharing your time. It's the most valuable thing we all have. And it's greatly appreciated. You share it with us and everybody here, and you're not a gatekeeper and sharing knowledge and willing to spread that around. Um,
Always,
appreciate
always,
everybody
always,
joining us
always.
live. Thank you guys for joining in the audience, and anyone who finds this outside of this live, Spotify or what have you, feel free to jump in and to our Discord server, Platypus Technical, and join us for the next one. Uh, really appreciate you, man. Thank you, and thank you, all you, everybody in the audience. We'll get
Not a
to you
problem.
guys.
Thank you for having me, and I greatly appreciate it.
Oh yeah, brother. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks, guys.